Greetings and salutations, family. It's Dr. Eric D. Harris, PhD, here with you once again. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining me. Today, we're going to get into if they can't keep it real with themselves, they definitely won't keep it real with you. In a world filled with curated images on multiple social media feeds, filtered selfies, and polished life updates, authenticity feels like a very shall we say, extremely rare commodity. We often expect honesty from others or those that we come into contact with, especially in relationships or professional connections and also friendships. But sometimes we overlook the fundamental truth. And that fundamental truth consists of if someone won't keep it real with themselves, they definitely won't keep it real with you. Self-awareness is not just a buzzword, folks. This is the fundamental foundation of human connection. When people lack honesty with themselves and integrity with themselves, it ripples into every interaction that they are involved in. So here is why that matters and what are those look fors as it relates to them not keeping it real. Remember, self-honesty comes first. Authenticity is internal before it is external. True transparency begins with the person in the mirror. It begins with yourself. People who avoid confronting their emotions, their flaws, their motivations, and often genuine insights, you really have no inclination or idea who these individuals are. And that denial breeds a sense of deception. Someone denies their fears, their mistakes, their insecurities, even to themselves. They'll inevitably project and deflect in all manner of relationship to protect that very fragile cocoon of self-image and ego that they have manufactured for themselves. You can't receive truth from someone who is running actively from the truth. Imagine trying to receive honest directions from someone who will never admit that they are lost. Similarly, a person disconnected from the truth will mislead you intentionally and unintentionally. Sign someone is not keeping it real with themselves. So what are some of those look fors? They deflect and blame persistently. It's just constantly. They never take accountability for anything. Nothing is ever their fault. Toxic relationships, failed projects at work, relationships that are social. They take no ownership, and that no ownership equals or is equated to zero or no honesty. Remember, their stories keep changing. They become flightier and flightier and more fragmented and chaotic. When they talk about their past feelings or past situations, those narratives are inconsistent, and it's a signal for internal chaos, confusion, disorder, and also avoidance. Also, they avoid those very sound, deep conversations that allow individuals to move in a space where they develop as it relates to personal growth. Those things are not in their interest. So they rather engage in these very elementary, tepid bird bath type conversations that are rather surface driven that really have no merit. And they tend to also idolize and demonize others. It's what we refer to as black and white thinking. This often reflects an interpolarization of their personality where they can't accept the complexity of themselves and they can't accept the complexity of other individuals. They chase validation instead of growth. Their actions are driven by how they are perceived by others, and they may not even know these individuals, instead of who they really are. Loud achievements, excessive social media flexing, and a constant need for praise tends to mask this vast emptiness within. So how does this affect you? When someone lacks a sense of self-honesty, your relationship with them becomes unstable or null and void. You're left in the lurch. You're guessing. Inconsistent behavior and unclear leads to a specific area where the intentions are off balance and also unwieldy. And remember, you begin to start doubting reality predicated on this person. They may even seek to gaslight someone because they are out of touch with reality and seek to rewrite and create this narrative because they are totally and expressively out of control. You can't feel close to someone who is hiding from themselves. You may end up carrying emotional weight, and no one wants to carry any additional baggage. So without a sense of self-awareness, they'll unconsciously dump guilt, shame, this tend to or necessary need to be right or insecurity into your space through manipulation, passive aggressiveness, and also neediness. And this can become totally exhausting. So what can we do? What can you do? You can't force someone to be honest with themselves, and you don't have the time for that, but you can protect your inner peace and establish your boundaries. Notice the patterns, not the promises. Words are easy to say, and actions simply reveal the truth. Don't let those charming things that the person oftentimes say and repeat and repeat and repeat and tend to push you in a space where you make them or they make them believable as it relates to those inconsistencies. So encourage, not pressure, self-reflection, and ask those very thoughtful questions that you have hardest or that you have written down. Remember, it's important for you to honor your own truth. And in that process, you're able to stay grounded in your values, in your principles, in your perceptions. If something feels off, believe me, it probably is. So walk away when necessary. You deserve relationships and interactions built on mutual authenticity. Staying in a one-sided emotional dynamic only delays that person's growth and your growth as well. Dr. Eric D. Harris.